If this was about missing them, you wouldn't be here. You don't think this is about them leaving. You tell yourself it starts after the silence, after the gap appears where something used to sit. You don't click this by accident. You come here because something keeps looping, because a door closed and your hand still reaches for the handle. You replay small moments you ignored when they were close. The way you answered late, the way you said later without checking the time, the way you assumed the room would stay warm without you watching the heat. Now you notice patterns. You check your phone without unlocking it. You open the same app, close it, open it again. Nothing changes. You scroll past their name, then scroll back. Your thumb pauses there longer than anywhere else. You don't tap. You don't delete. You leave it exactly where it is. You start remembering details you skipped before. The sound of their steps, the way they leaned instead of standing straight. You replay sentences that felt ordinary at the time. Now they feel heavier. You tell yourself you want them, but you didn't want them like this when they stayed. Back then, you postponed replies. You let days blur together. You assumed presence meant permanence. You didn't watch the clock then. You didn't count hours. Now you measure time in smaller pieces. Minutes, refreshes, glances at the top of the screen. You rehearse messages you won't send. You type, delete, type again, change one word, erase everything. You imagine what they might be doing instead, not in detail, just enough to feel the space they occupy somewhere else. You don't picture them missing you. You picture them continuing. That's when the wanting sharpens. You check old photos, but not the obvious ones. You choose the blurred ones, the accidental ones, the frames where they weren't trying. You linger there longer than you admit. You start noticing how often your body moves before your mind decides. Your hand reaches for the phone when the room goes quiet. Your eyes drift toward doors that won't open. You don't say their name out loud. You mouth it once, then stop. You tell yourself the timing was wrong, the distance, the circumstances, anything that keeps the story open-ended. But you remember how often you checked out while they checked in, how you half-listened, how you multitasked their presence. You didn't crave them then. You managed them. Now you crave the absence. It behaves like an object you lost in the dark. You keep reaching for where it used to be. Your hand closes on nothing. You try again anyway. You notice how your routines change. You stay up later. You let the night stretch. You wait for a message you know won't come. You reread old conversations, not from the beginning. You start near the end. You look for the moment things tilt. You don't know exactly when it happens. You only know it does. You convince yourself you would do it differently now. You would answer faster, listen longer, show up cleaner. But this version of you only exists because they're gone. When they were present, you had options, distractions, other tabs open. Now everything funnels into one narrow channel. You notice how your mind fills the silence for you, how it edits, softens edges, removes friction. You don't remember the pauses, the misalignments, the moments you looked away. You remember the outline, not the weight. You start mistaking loss for depth. You tell yourself the connection was rare, but rarity shows up when something ends, not when it lives. You don't want them. You want the version of yourself that feels sharpened by disappearance. You watch others move on and feel something tighten, not because you want them back, because they stopped orbiting the empty space. You keep the absence alive by visiting it daily. You feed it attention, time, repetition. You don't notice when wanting becomes a habit, when it stops pointing toward them and starts circling you. Your life keeps moving, but one part stays parked, engine running, waiting for a signal that won't change. You tell yourself this is loyalty, but it behaves more like delay. You scroll again, check again, pause again. Nothing arrives. The wanting doesn't fade, it refines. Shorter thoughts, quicker glances, longer nights. You carry them into moments they don't belong, into rooms they never entered. You don't notice how often you choose the memory over the present. And you don't ask the question that would end the loop. Not yet. You'll check again tonight. You'll tell yourself it's just curiosity. You'll keep confusing absence with meaning. Someone else will watch this and recognize the same pattern. They won't say anything either. They'll sit with it, quietly. Some will leave without touching anything. Others will press the small buttons below just to see if the mirror responds. A few will write a sentence they won't explain. Some will send this to someone who won't ask why. This place keeps track of what you don't say. It stays open. It waits.